Hello, this is my first video, so I hope I do a good enough job that you get the idea how you can make your own cloth menstrual pads. Uh, I love them now because they're so much better for you. They're easier. They're easy to maintain, even though you might think they're not. The caring for them is really easy. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I've done it now for 3 months in a row, getting ready for my fourth month. And the first couple of times, first month was really the learning month. I really learned a lot from that, and I was able to expand on it and make it even better. Now it's no trouble at all, and I'm actually glad I made the switch. Um, but what I did first was I took a regular maxi pad that I would buy for overnight. Actually, I didn't wear this overnight. I wore it overnight plus I also wore it during the day because my flow I thought was just so heavy. And I always would, the way your cervix is tilted, I think determines how your flow is going to go. Well, my flow would always go forward. So I would always have that issue of it going way up into the sides even where there's no absorbency. So I had that issue, and so I tried to find the biggest I could find, but still be thin because I didn't like the bulk too much. And the bulk also seemed to shift a lot on me, so I tried to get the thinnest I could. Well, so that's what I had to work with. So I thought, well, I'm going to try to make one kind of like what I wear. And so what I did was I took one of these out, and it's got the sticky stuff on it, so I opened it all up, stuck it on a piece of paper, stuck it on a really thick piece of paper, and this is what I came up with right here. So what I did was I stuck that on the piece of paper, something like that, drew around it, and what I decided was I didn't really like these wings. They really weren't long enough. So instead of just squaring it up, making it longer this way, I tried to just add a little more length to it on the side so I have long enough wings. So you can really play with it and figure out what's going to work for you. It's not really a big deal. Then of course you're going to have an inner core, and that's what I did here. I just took another piece of paper, figured out, I kind of drew around this and then just trimmed it until I got to what I wanted for my inner core, and I made sure it looked like that. Now, this being said, this is where I experimented, and this is where you may have to experiment to find out what works for you, because with this pattern I made these. I made these by hand. At the time I didn't have my sewing machine up and running. It was I didn't have a good table to put it on. Now I do, so that's better too. But I made these by hand, and they still work, but I did learn a few things from them. Number one, I learned that you want a good absorbent core. These are toweling. I just use old towels for the absorbent core. And while that works, I like the towels. What I didn't know was that the backing, you really want a fleece backing. It could be micro fleece or Winpro fleece. It really doesn't matter. It's just water resistant. It kind of resists leaks going through. So these were flannel backed, and as you can tell, they're kind of worn a little because I did use them a lot. Still do, actually. When I'm at home, these are good ones to use because I can change them at home as much as I want. And I have quite a few of them. But that's what I used first. Okay, and they work fairly well, but I wanted to make them even nicer. I used buttons, as you can tell. I got a button right there. And I just put a buttonhole on the other side, and that seemed to work really well. I actually like the buttons better than I do the snaps, although I have some of each. So that's what I made these. And see, they're kind of thick, which actually when you're bumming around the house, it feels really good. You've got that protection, but you can still change them as often as you want. And if you notice, I don't have stains. I'll probably do a separate video on what I do to keep from having stains. And it seems to work really well for me. It's not a lot of trouble, and it works. So anyway, that's those. Now, what I did was I decided that I wanted to try a brand that I saw online. I didn't buy it, but I liked the idea of it. And what they had was they made the flares at the ends. And so I tried these in a panty liner. I just kind of made some panty liners like this. And it works really good. It fits my panties really good. However, I wasn't very as comfortable with them as the more traditional shapes. So I still use these. I use them for panty liners. I still have the buttons. These were by hand also. And all these are cotton on the top and a layer of flannel inside and a layer of flannel on the back. And that seemed to work pretty good too. So you can try something like that if you want. If you feel like you like that kind of shape, you can make it any shape you want. That's the nice part about making your own, and it's also a lot cheaper. Also, so what I did was I finally figured out what I wanted, the shape I wanted, and what I did was I kind of took what I already had and cut it down to what shape I wanted. Now I had some round ones the same way, round, instead of straight corners. I had round ones, and I'll show you those. But this is the style I really like. So I make that, and then I like my absorbency to go all the way to the edge. So that's what I did. I don't like to have anything on the edge where if you have something going off a little, then that's where I always would get like small little places on my panties that I just didn't like. So anyway, I did that. So I took that idea and I cut out a lot of different. I went and bought material that was something I like, patterns I like. This is a Halloween. But I also used material that I would only get like a quarter of a yard. You don't need a lot. You really don't. So you can get a quarter of a yard times 4. That's one whole yard, and get different fabrics. And you might only pay $4 for the whole thing. $4 a yard. So that's what I did. So I did different fabrics like that. And the inner core, I like to use flannel. Flannel is a good absorbent material. And we don't have Zorb around here, and I didn't want to order it. So I used flannel. And what I did with the flannel is I cut one layer the same as the top. And actually what I did with this is I had a flannel flat sheet that I used. And the flannel flat sheet was I had never used it actually. It was I don't like sheets. I just use a quilt on top of the bed. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to cut that flannel up with my patterns and use that. So with my absorbent core pattern, that's what I did. And I got that. And the next part is the fleece backing. Fleece is water resistant. So if you have, if you go a little longer than you think to change it, the fleece a lot of times will stop that from going through. So that's what I like about it. So I would, this is about the way that I would construct it. I'd put the fleece in the back, the absorbent core, which here is 4 layers of flannel, and then I'd just do another layer of flannel. I like to be thorough, so. And what the flannel does here is, if you do have some rolling off the side, it's going to kind of catch that a little bit. And also it provides a little more structure for your wings. So that's what I like about that. And then I'm going to sew all that together. Now how I sew that together is, let me get one that I've sewed together. It's right here. Okay. I've got all my pieces together. I've got the top piece. I've got one layer of the flannel for the structure of the wing, and then I've got the core. And what I did was I sewed one straight stitch all the way down, and then went back and I sewed a stitch right along the edge here, and then I'm going to sew a stitch right along the edge here. What you'll have, I don't know if you can even see this, what you'll have is the one stitch in the middle, and then you're going to have a stitch here and a stitch on this side, and that's going to help with this folding over when you go to snap your wings together or button them. So once I did that, I put all my pieces together. Here's a couple more that I'm working on. I put all my pieces together, and then I would sew around the edge, all the way around. Okay, just use your sewing machine, straight stitch all the way around, and what you'll have is all the layers sewed together. Okay, now if you wanted to, you could sew them right sides together, inside out, and leave a hole and turn them back outside right, and then you could always just do a top stitch around. But because I like it so my absorbent core to go all the way to the sides, it's so thick, it gets really thick when you start doing that. So I decided, well, why don't I do this? I love the blanket stitch. I can make a blanket stitch really easy. So I did that, sewed them all together, and then what you're going to do is you're going to trim them. Trim all the way to that stitch right there. I don't know if you can see it. You just trim all the way to that stitch, and all the way around. So it's a nice uniform looking pad now. And so from that point, you're going to have a pad that looks like this. Okay, and what I did was I sewed a blanket stitch around it. Let's see if you can. I'm sorry, I'm not much of a videoer, but there's a blanket stitch that goes all the way around. Okay, and I sewed it all the way around, and then I have my pad. And for the button, I just chose a button that matched. This one's a purple button. You can use snaps. I have, let's see, there's another one that I did, a blanket stitch around. Maybe you can see that one better, I don't know. And then for the buttonhole, you're just going to sew a button. I may do a video to show you how to do a buttonhole. I don't know. Many people already know. You might want to do snaps. This one has snaps, and it's the round top. This one has snaps, and snaps are good because you can do them one-handed. So then there you go. You have a pad. Fits right in your panties, really snug. It's easy to use. But this is I'll show you real quick some of the more of the ones I made. This is another one. You saw that pattern already, but this is a finished one. And I'll tell you, this is a 5 layers of flannel. It's not that thick. When you put it in your panties, you can't even, it feels like your panties. You can't really tell. And then here's some more that I just love being able to pick out the pattern, the pattern that I like. You know, this is a Halloween one. These are the round top ones that I started with, and I like the round top okay, but I found that I like the straight tops better. This one was just a real pretty. I love the butterfly. And then of course pink and blue together. It's always so pretty. This one, another Halloween one, black cats. I just have so many Halloween right now because it's coming up, and that's what I saw, and I liked it. Batik, I really like this. It probably doesn't show up on the camera that well, but what I like about this one is, because it's red, a lot of red in it and pink, if you were to have stains, it's not going to show that much. The stains would not show on that at all, hardly. So that's a good one to, if you're afraid of that, get red colors and dark colors, and that'll work really good. But I've used every one of these pads, and none of them are stained. So it is possible to have them with no stains. So I really like the owls. It's a pretty one. And then I saw Christmas frogs. And I just thought, well, what the heck. We'll make some Christmas ones too. This one's flannel. Flannel, I found, to me, stains a little bit more than the others, and so it takes a little more to get the stains out, but it's still not that bad, really. It just trial and error, find out what works for you. I think everybody's proteins in their blood are different, and so what works for one might not work for the other. So anyway, that is how I do it. If you don't know how to do a blanket stitch, um, it's easy to learn. I may do a video on that also. So I hope this inspires you to make your own. I hope this is, if you haven't already switched to cloth pads, I hope that it inspires you to maybe try it out and switch. If you can't afford to buy them, like you can't really afford to buy those things too many at a time, and when you need a bunch right away, why not make them? So that's what I did. But there you go. I hope it helps, and everybody have a good day. Thank you.